A scant month and a half ago or something, the President of the United States stood right there and talked about securing the border. It's unfathomable to me. We used to not say lie in the world of politics about your opponent or the other party or whatever, but I don't know what else that is other than a lie. And look, I come from Pennsylvania. We're not on the border where Mr. Roy represents, where his community and his state's being completely overrun. Pennsylvania is far from the border. We got Route 81. We got Route 83. The fentanyl comes up, right? The president took an oath to faithfully discharge the laws of this country, but just abrogating them. You just wonder, who's he representing? Whose citizens is he representing? Because the people in my community, the people all across the country are dying at record levels from drugs coming across the southern border, and nothing's happening to stop it. It's not only people coming here illegally and taking your jobs, and all these different languages that your school has to teach now. Somebody's going to pay for that. Who can afford this? And whose job is it to safeguard America? If it's not the president's job, whose job is it? Like Chip Roy's trying, Bob Good's trying. Well, we can't keep Title 42 in place. Even better yet, the question should be, why isn't Remain in Mexico in place? Seek asylum the correct way. Stay in the country, the first country you come to, if you're indeed oppressed in a political, you're suffering political retribution for your beliefs or religious persecution, the first country you come to. But the first country you come to when you travel through Mexico, when you fly into Mexico from one of the other 160, 190 countries on the planet, isn't the United States. It's Mexico. Yet the president says the border's open. These people aren't coming to the White House, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming to your house, coming to your community. They're not going to Joe Biden's house in Delaware, not coming to Pennsylvania Avenue, coming to your house and your community. And they're bringing the drugs with them, human trafficking, and for goodness sakes, your taxes. Half the people on this side of the aisle just supported, 75% of the people on this side of the aisle just supported more spending for this. And you know what it does? Bob Good's right. You're not going to see them all piled up under the bridge at Del Rio, because we're going to hire more people to move them more efficiently into your town, because they don't like that look. It's not hired to stop them. They're hired to more efficiently have them come to your town, your community, including the people on the terrorist watch list, criminals, the fentanyl, the human trafficking, coming to your town. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Turn it back over to my friend from Texas.
Well, I'd ask my friend from Pennsylvania if he's aware that our colleague and colleague in the House Freedom Caucus, our friend Yvette Harrell from New Mexico, introduced legislation a year ago, actually over a year ago, to require the use of Title 42. Is that right?
That's right. And all we need is enough people to sign it. Look, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, these folks are coming to your town. The fentanyl's coming to your town. The overdoses are coming to your town. All you have to do, if your leadership says we refuse to move this bill that the American people want, maintain this Title 42, all you have to do is go down and sign that piece of paper, and we can do it. Leadership can't hold us up. But they don't want to do it, do they?
They do not. And so I just want to make sure for every American out there, just to understand the truth, if you are disgusted about what's happening at our border, if you are concerned about what's actually happening to our communities, there is a way we can solve this problem without Speaker Pelosi making the decision. Because, see, that's how things work, right? We don't ever debate. We don't ever amend. We never actually have discussion in the People's House. The Speaker in a back room decides what happens on the floor, vote yes or no, walk out and give a press conference. But we can do something about that. There's a tool. It's called a discharge petition. We have a discharge petition at the desk to try to empower the actual representatives of this country. We have 200 and I think now 8 Republicans on that discharge petition.
How many Democrats?
We have 0 Democrats, not 1 Democrat on that discharge petition. Now, I want everybody to think about that. The Democrats in this body apparently are so beholden to the radical idea of wide open borders, not implementing Title 42, while Americans are being forced to wear masks on airplanes, while Americans are getting a jab needle stuck in their arm by force of government if they're in the military, border patrol, or any other federal employee, while there's still a federal health emergency in place under order of the president.
Well, we're firing people that were on the front lines at the beginning of the pandemic without it, where there was no vaccine present, right? They went out and risked their lives, not knowing what they were dealing with, and now, unless they take the jab, now they're out of work.
And so while that's in place, we have a discharge petition where we could bring to the floor and vote to force enforcement of Title 42 in this country. And not one of our Democratic colleagues will join us in that effort. We have 13.
Wouldn't it?
It sure
13
would.
plus 8, 208?
It sure would. I think there's somewhere around 50 Democratic members from border states, if you count New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Texas. So where are my Democratic colleagues in border states? I think they ought to be asked. I want to know, why won't my Democratic colleagues from border states or anywhere else in the country say they believe that we ought to enforce Title 42? Because guess what? There are a few senators who have said so. Isn't that right?
There's a few senators. I think there's a few representatives that said so too. Now, they can put their money, so to speak, where their mouth is. You can say it, but you can take some action. That talk is cheap, right? Take some action and walk down there and sign the paper. And once one does, maybe a few more will, because their constituents, their bosses, their citizens, their communities are being wrecked too.
And it is a way to wrestle control of the people's house away from a handful